Greetings, YouTube. Last month, a 577-page report conducted by a nonpartisan group has come out concerning torture in the United States. And these are some of the relevant quotes in it that I thought were quite interesting. And someone who mentioned once that Mandarin hears my voice and hops on my shoulder may have a good theory. The report was rebuked. The report is a rebuke to President Barack Obama's opposition to investigating torture under the Bush administration. As he said in an interview during his election in 2008, Obama has advocated a belief that we need to look forward as opposed to looking backwards. I'm a firm believer in the concept that you must learn from the mistakes of the past, or you will repeat them, but that's just me. Furthering, quote, Task Force members believe that having as thorough as possible as an understanding of what occurred during this period of serious threat and a willingness to acknowledge any shortcomings strengthens the nation and equips us to better cope with the next crisis and ones after that, the authors wrote. Moving on without such a reckoning weakens our ability to claim our place as an exemplary practitioner of the rule of law. And for me, the final quote that sums this up well. The United States may not declare a nation guilty of engaging in torture and then exempt itself from being so labeled for similar, if not identical, conduct. And that is the real killer for me. The United States has often made statements about other nations being violating the rule of law and torturing its citizens or military members they have captured or suspected spies, what have you, frequently when they're just hikers. But of course, it's just there's no hands policy for what we do. But what we do, the United States, has been torture. Torture has been done in the name of the American citizens. Torture has been done in my name. And that is a moral abomination. The United States has done things that at one time we charged, tried, convicted, and executed people for in the aftermath of World War II. The United States was involved in executing officers that waterboarded people. And yet, we have waterboarded people. I believe there was one individual who was waterboarded 153 times. 153 times. You can't get used to waterboarding. You can't fight the drowning reflex. You're wired to fight that. That's part of your reptilian brain. You can't escape it. And we did it to somebody 153 times. We've tortured people with sleep deprivation, extremes of temperature, putting them in cages where they can't move. We've beaten people. There are people right now in Gitmo starving themselves to death in response to this because they want to go home. Half of them have been cleared for that. Of course, we're not letting them go because Congress won't let them. So explain to me why Congress can get away with that. Explain to me why Congress can decide that they're just not going to release people that were illegally detained for years, that were tortured, that were questioned endlessly when they didn't know anything. I had an interview recently where an individual who's still in Guantanamo at the moment finally gave them information. He began to inform on his fellow prisoners that he didn't even know anything about. Why? To stop the abuse. He would tell them anything they wanted to hear to stop the abuse. He made things up to stop the abuse. It's almost like it didn't work. But then again, gathering information wasn't ever the purpose of torture. Torture is done for its own purpose. Torture is done because the people doing the torture are in a position of power, and the person being tortured isn't. It's a mind game. It's a power trip. It's a sign that you are ethically and morally weak if you torture another human being. There is no ethical or moral justification for torture. There never has been. There never will be. And yet, the United States has conducted it. We need to stop calling it enhanced interrogation. No, it's not enhanced interrogation. It's torture. And we are all morally responsible for what has been done in our name. And the people that made those decisions need to be brought to justice. And those prisoners need to be released and sent home. And the rest need to be tried and, if found guilty, incarcerated. Of course, by the time they're found guilty, the time served, they might get released as well. We need to be a nation that follows the rule of law. We need to be a nation of laws, not of vengeance, not of emotional thinking, of laws. We had that idea at one point in the past, and somewhere it got lost.